I'm Talia Ricci. Tonight, an investigation into a deadly fire in Hamilton reveals no evidence of working smoke alarms.
It's almost unbearable to believe why nothing disturbed the family enough to get out.
A lot of black smoke just completely coming out of all the windows.
4 people in the home died, including 2 children. We'll have the latest from the scene. Plus,
when a tragedy like this happens, it impacts us all.
Hundreds of first responders and members of the public attended a procession today, paying tribute to the OPP officer shot and killed in the line of duty. And
we've got a terrific show of high-altitude fireworks that are shooting off along the inner harbor there.
The countdown to 2023 has begun. We take a look at some of the festivities happening around the city. We'll get to those stories in a moment, but first, a man is dead tonight after a shooting in Scarborough. This was the scene a few minutes ago. Police say they received a call around 5:30 this evening to the area of Birchmount and Shepherd Avenue East. They found a man in an underground parking lot suffering from a gunshot wound. Police are asking anyone with information to contact them. Officials now say it appears there were no working smoke alarms inside a Hamilton townhome that was gutted by fire last night. It's believed 6 people were in the house when the fire started. 4 of them died, including 2 young children. Greg Ross spoke with one man who tried to get the victims out of the burning house.
This cell phone video shows the chaotic scene before firefighters arrived here last night.
Just like the smoke coming out of the windows and just the magnitude, I guess, of the fire.
This woman says some neighbors tried to get into the home to help the people that live there. This man, who works at a restaurant just down the street, says he was one of them.
Hey, anybody here inside, get out.
He says he broke down the door, but the thick smoke and intense heat were just too much to bear. He says he did hear a child's voice coming from inside the house.
It was kids inside, like they tried to help.
This woman says she's a friend of the family that lives there.
It's almost unbearable to believe why nothing disturbed the family enough to get out. I can't wrap my mind around it.
She says a mother and 2 young children are among the 4 people who died.
I just want peace for those kids, and I want everyone to know how beautiful they really were.
She says the father of those children was one of the 2 people who escaped.
He's absolutely devastated. We all are.
The cause of this fire is still not clear, but the fire marshal believes it started on the main floor of the home. The investigation has already uncovered some serious concerns.
There is no evidence of working smoke alarms in the house. Obviously, the rest of the material that's in the house will have to be processed, and that'll actually tell us whether there actually was alarms. We've had a significant amount of fire spread go through the entire ground floor, migrate up through the stairwell into the 2nd floor and cause quite a bit of damage to the 2nd floor as well. Pretty much have smoke spread throughout the entire house.
The fire marshal says this investigation could take days. They intend to go through every item inside the home meticulously to try and determine how this fire started. Greg Ross, CBC News, Hamilton.
Meanwhile, in Mississauga, police are investigating another shooting that left a man dead. Police were called to this park in the area of Mavis and the 401 around 11 this morning. The man was found with gunshot wounds and died at the scene. A man was arrested a short time later. Police don't believe there are any other suspects. In Pickering, a man is dead after an early morning 3-vehicle crash on the 401. The head-on collision also sending 2 people to hospital, one of them a Toronto police recruit.
OPP responded to a collision involving 3 vehicles. Reports are that one of those vehicles was traveling eastbound in the westbound lanes when it collided head-on with another vehicle, 401 at Brock Road.
A 55-year-old man died at the scene. 2 others were taken to hospital. The Toronto Police Union saying in a statement this afternoon that one of the injured is a police cadet who was headed to a training session. The union says the driver who caused the crash was allegedly impaired. The recruit suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The westbound 401 lanes were shut down for hours for the investigation and cleanup. To the latest on this week's shooting death of an OPP officer. Today, a police procession brought the body of Constable Greg Priscilla from Toronto back to his hometown of Barrie. Hundreds of first responders lined the route to pay their respects to the fallen officer. Ali Chiasson has the story.
When a tragedy like this happens, it impacts us all.
Another procession from the coroner's office for another fallen officer.
I don't necessarily think that us being here makes anything any better, but I hope that it offers a little bit of comfort.
Constable Grzegorz Pieszawa was shot dead Tuesday afternoon, responding to a call for a car in the ditch. 25-year-old Randall McKenzie and 30-year-old Brandy Stewart Sperry were the lone occupants. Police say McKenzie shot and killed the constable before the two fled, only to be arrested in a field later that night.
Our son is an OPP constable in Haldeman County. He started the same time that Greg did. They graduated together and they were friends, so we're here to support.
Many of the people lining the highways are either first responders themselves or their families.
It's going to be pretty emotional, yes.
Emotional for so many, but also infuriating, considering the accused had a criminal past, including armed robbery, assaulting a peace officer, and was out on bail at the time of the shooting, prompting growing calls for justice reform from the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police. Quote, "The CACP reiterates that the right for the public and our officers to be protected from the criminal behaviors of violent and repeat offenders, particularly those charged with firearm-related crimes, must be given far greater weight than is currently the case when bail and sentencing matters are considered." Federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre weighed in.
Prisoners who have been arrested after a long rap sheet of previous offenses for violent crimes, and we believe that they should stay in jail until their trial is complete.
And to that, the federal Minister of Justice pointed out that it's the provincial governments that are responsible for the administration of justice, including bail hearings. But going forward, quote, "Federal, provincial and territorial governments continue to work together to examine ways to improve the criminal justice system, including with respect to the bail regime and its implementation." Now facing first-degree murder charges, Randall McKenzie and his co-accused Brandy Stewart Sperry will appear in court January 17th. Constable Pieszawa's funeral will be held on the 4th. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to a breaking story tonight. Journalist and television broadcaster Barbara Walters has died. Walters was most known recently for her role as co-host of ABC's The View, but her time with the network spanned decades, becoming the first female anchor on their evening news program back in 1976. She was well known for her exclusive interviews with politicians and celebrities. With a career spanning 5 decades, she won 12 Emmy Awards. Walters was 93. And there's a live look at our foggy city skyline. Periods of rain expected tonight, currently sitting at around 10 degrees. Dahlia Ashry joins us now for a first look at the forecast. And Dahlia, it was wet out there today. I'm assuming we can see some of that tomorrow for New Year's as well.
That's right, Talia. You probably needed an umbrella earlier today and into tonight as well, because tomorrow is definitely going to be a damp one, especially as we're heading into the new year. It will be a damp one, but also there's some risk of flooding in some areas, which we'll get into in just a bit. So there is a rainfall warning stretching all across pretty much Ontario, as we can see here. If we take a closer look, even honing in on Toronto and southern Ontario is really going to be hit the hardest, and even in Ottawa. Now, let's take a look at the daytime high in Toronto today. We're sitting almost 10 degrees higher than the seasonal average, 13 degrees in Toronto, a little bit cooler out in Hamilton, but in London, but overall we're sitting in the double digits across Ontario. Now here's a look at what's we're expecting ahead going into the weekend. A whole bunch of rain as we're heading into Saturday, and that will be carrying through even as we're heading into Sunday. We're going to get a little bit of a break here in Toronto, but some drizzle could be expected. But overall, Sunday is the day where we get a little bit of a breather here in Toronto. London, southern Ontario is going to be hit the hardest as well with that rainfall, like I said, in Ottawa as well. Now, we could be seeing up to 33 millimeters of rain by Sunday in Ottawa. As for Toronto, we could be experiencing up to 29 millimeters, and then in Windsor will be roughly around the same. Now, what to expect across Ontario? Ottawa, 5 degrees for tonight, and then Toronto, 8 degrees, Windsor, 6 degrees, so a little bit warmer here in Toronto, but again, everyone is experiencing those damp conditions. Also, in terms of wind, it's not so bad heading into the weekend. We're not expecting some heavy winds, except for really London, 28 kilometers an hour. Overall, though, some pretty light winds as we head into Saturday, 1 p.m., 22 kilometers an hour for Toronto, and then we're going to start seeing those wind conditions get a little lighter in southern Ontario, but Toronto will be seeing up to 33 kilometers an hour. Now, as for the 3-day forecast in Ottawa, we're seeing a little bit of rain on Saturday, a little bit of sunshine on Sunday and Monday. So really, we're seeing the trending conditions is rain really for Tuesday and Wednesday as well. We're seeing that the overnights will be dipping down to -3, -1, a little bit of sunshine. As for Windsor, we're seeing some rainy and gloomy conditions from Saturday to Tuesday, and then for the low, it's going to be -1 on Saturday. So we're heading into the new year with a little bit of a gloomy note, and also potentially flooding in some areas, like I mentioned earlier. Saturday in Toronto, tomorrow, it's going to be a damp one, so make sure you have your umbrella with you if you plan on heading out for New Year's Eve. Sunday, though, we're kicking off the new year 2023 with a little bit of sunshine, and then by Wednesday, we're seeing those double digits come back and then that rain. But listen, we're heading into 2023, warmer conditions, and also some sunshine is on the way. So happy New Year's, folks.
Thanks, Dahlia. As people get ready to ring in 2023, preparations are underway across the city. As Tyler Cheese reports, some of the New Year's Eve festivities have already begun.
The clock is ticking on 2022, and most already have their plans set for tomorrow night.
Probably just going to spend time with my family, just get together, have a nice dinner, nice meal, maybe play some family games.
Having a family get together, my parents and my siblings are visiting from India, and we're going to cook nice dinner and take them out for a stroll.
We're going clubbing.
In the city's historic distillery district, the party has started early. The area's holiday market has been going strong all week, inviting revelers to enjoy food, drinks, and live music while they shop.
Well, we've got New Year's Eve here planned at the Distillery District, and it's part of our Distillery Winter Village closing ceremony, so we've got lots of fun things.
The celebration continues tomorrow with more live music and DJs playing throughout the evening.
And then we come to an amazing climax at midnight with fireworks coming off the buildings here in Distillery, and I think it'll be a super fantastic night.
The city also has big plans, a massive fireworks show that can be seen from most places along the waterfront.
Well, we've got a terrific show of high-altitude fireworks that are shooting off along the inner harbor. There are 2 firing locations, and the fireworks will be probably as high as the sort of center pod of the CN Tower.
Parts of Lakeshore Boulevard will be closed for the show, so the city is recommending people rely on public transit to get around. Fortunately, the TTC is offering free service from 7 p.m. until the next morning.
Now, there is a rainfall warning in effect tonight and into tomorrow. Environment Canada says some areas could be hit with up to 35 millimeters. But the good news is it's all set to clear up tomorrow night just before festivities are set to get underway.
And for those who prefer to stay dry, the waterfront fireworks show will also be broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. As for New Year's Day, a reminder that places like banks, most major grocery stores, government offices, and libraries will all be closed. Tyler Cheese, CBC News.
Get it done. That was the slogan for Doug Ford's re-election campaign this year. And certainly many will be looking to see what Ford and his progressive conservative government do get done in 2023. Our senior Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley takes a look at what to expect.
For Doug Ford, 2022 was a triumph. He's the first Ontario Premier since the 1950s to go from a majority in his first election to an even bigger majority in his second.
God bless the people of Ontario!
As this election year comes to a close, what's in store for Ford and his progressive conservative government in 2023? We requested an interview with the Premier, but didn't get one, so we asked these 3 PC insiders what to expect, and they all say Ford's top priority will be the economy.
A lot of economists out there that are concerned that we're going to be in a recession, and that would by far be the biggest challenge facing not just the government of Ontario, but every government.
With inflation running high and the provincial budget now in a surplus, will Ford be tempted to hand money back to taxpayers?
I think you'll probably see a lot more of that. I'm not going to call them gimmicks, but I think those little small, $100 here, $50 here, really matter to people and really resonate with the average voter.
But the economy is by no means the only challenge facing Ontario. The pressure on hospitals and healthcare workers remains relentless, and patients are feeling the impact.
If somebody's waiting in an emergency room for a dozen hours on end, you can't get around that. You can't sugarcoat that with messaging. That's an issue you have to deal through system change.
How will Ford move to change the health system? Insiders expect he'll try to increase private sector delivery of publicly funded health care.
I think you'll see in the early parts of 2023 a big push by the government to come forward with new policy options.
Ford and his fellow premiers want more federal money for health care, and they want the Prime Minister to sit down with them next month and pony up.
I think the pressure is sufficient that you're going to see a movement on the federal side.
Another crucial issue facing Ford, Ontario's housing crisis and his promise of 1.5 million new homes in a decade.
What you're hoping to see is tangible outcomes. In this case, new houses being built.
But even the province's own forecasts predict housing starts in the next 3 years falling far short of the pace needed to hit Ford's target. Doug Ford's government is pulling land out of the Greenbelt, giving extra powers to the mayors of Toronto and Ottawa, and limiting what cities can charge developers. The new year will be a test of whether all these controversial changes actually deliver more homes. Mike Crawley, CBC News.
Well, as the year comes to a close, many are reflecting on the joys that came with it. For one Brampton family, it meant the ultimate double-double. 2 sets of twins in the same year. Here's more on their incredible story.
I became pregnant with Kyra and Shamar in August of 2021. But the way that they came into the world, they came 3 months early. And what happened with that was I was at one of my prenatal appointments. And I went and my water broke while we were across the street from the hospital. Within 48 hours, they were here via C-section. So it was a month from when we brought them home from the NICU that we found out that we were expecting right away, right? I mean, I was convinced that it was 1. So when I found out 2 were coming, I said to myself, oh my goodness, family was so shocked. I was speechless.
I was definitely speechless.
I carried them until about 31 weeks, so longer than this set. I woke up from a nap and I was like, I'm in labor. Oh, ambulance arrived at 12:50 and the girls were born at 1:33 and 1:35. So that should show you how quick that all happened. They were born on November 28th of this year. So yes, they spent about a month in a level 2 at Brampton Civic where they were born. And yeah, we're scheduled to pick them up today. So that's exciting. We have had an outpour of love, even starting from within our families. Complete support. I'm talking completely hands-on.
Even church communities, right? And so we were really blessed and thankful for that level of support in this time.
Of course, I think about our children graduating all together and then walking up on it to receive their diplomas.
Definitely is going to be a journey. We've been having a couple laughs about that. I envision them having like just to put on their backpacks. It's like, okay, guys, like we're going to school. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, and we're looking forward to it.
This year, 13 Toronto restaurants received Michelin stars, ranking them among the world's top culinary destinations. It was the first time the designation came to Canada. I had a chance to sit down with one of those chefs to learn more about his journey and what the award means for his restaurant.
We are a fine dining Italian restaurant. The most important thing in Don Alfonso restaurant is the quality of the products. We use only the best that we can find around. We like to use local products with our Italian ideas. I am Daniele Corona, executive chef of Don Alfonso 1819 Toronto.
Tell me a little bit about the history of this restaurant.
I moved in Toronto to follow this project, Chef Alfonso, before I worked in original Don Alfonso that is in Amalfi Coast. And next year the restaurant are gonna celebrate the 50 years. So it's very famous restaurant. We have more than 6 Don Alfonso around the world. We are the first Don Alfonso in North America. We have a tasting menu that is 8 courses that we try to keep our signature dish from original Don Alfonso. And then we have also a la carte that we change the menu seasonal every 3-4 months. And then we have the lounge that is a more casual menu.
Something very exciting happened this year.
Yeah.
Michelin star came to Canada and Toronto for the first time, and this restaurant received a Michelin star.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
It's one of the most excited moments of my life. It's like an Oscar for an actor.
Don Alfonso, 1890.
It's the most big thing that can happen for a chef. No? I started in Italy. I work in many Michelin star restaurants in Italy. And finally, now we got our own Michelin star in Toronto. We are more than 20 people that work for more than 2 years. In Toronto, it's very difficult to find some situation like that because the kitchen, the people in the kitchen, they change always. Michelin star is an achievement for all my team. It's not just for me because we work very hard. I am very proud of them. How are you? Everything good? That's going here? And that's the message that I want to send. It's not just me or Don Alfonso in Italy. It's the team that is the most important part of the restaurant.
What are your hopes for the future of the restaurant?
I hope that this restaurant gonna have the same moment that it has now, because now we are living a very magical moment in terms of demanding, in terms of awards, and also in terms of quality of people that work here. I feel that we are very, very connected each other, and when you have a team in the back of the house and the front of the house that are very, very connected, the guests, they can feel that. Thank you.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching, and Happy New Year. Good night.